The interviewer is Christian Wright. Today is October 20th, 2020, and we are in the Trailblazer at Morehead State University. If you could please introduce yourself.
My name is Makayla Holder.
And Makayla, where are you from?
I'm from Illinois, so 5.5 hours away from here, 45 minutes outside of Paducah, Kentucky.
And what brought you to Morehead?
Originally, I was just looking here because my friend was interested in going here, but then I liked the nature aspect of it, and I also got the same amount proportionally, aid-wise, to the college I wanted to go to, but it was going to cost me half the price. So that's why I decided to go here.
And what's your year and what's your major?
I'm a senior convergent media major with a photo minor.
And how long have you worked for the Trailblazer?
This is my fourth semester, and this semester I'm a managing editor, not just staff.
Cool. And now we'll get into the more COVID-oriented questions. When did you first hear about the coronavirus? And when you did, what did you think?
I first heard about it probably sometime last semester, towards the beginning of last semester. And originally I just thought it was people being overdramatic. You know, I think that was everyone's sort of first impression, but that was mine.
And kind of once the semester started getting a little underway, after most people heard about it, we took that break and switched to online. How did that go for you?
I mean, fundamentally, it went fine. I didn't enjoy staying in my house, but I don't think anyone really did. As long as classes were going, I was fine. It was after classes stopped, and it was summer break, that I started falling into issues.
And what was it like leaving campus last semester when we switched to online?
It wasn't really any different for me because I live in town in an apartment. So, I mean, the main thing was that I didn't get to see really any of my friends. And I was in here a lot, hanging out with my editor, so that was really the main thing that changed.
And how did switching online impact your studies at all?
I would say I was slightly less motivated, but I also, when assignments were posted, I would just go through and blast them all out. So I was done with the semester way earlier than I should have, because I just went through and blasted out the assignments.
And what was daily life kind of like in those initial stages of COVID being here in the States?
Mainly just hanging out with my cat in my apartment. I didn't leave much. I had to get used to not forgetting a mask. And sort of just once classes ended, I sort of went into like this depression because of this isolation that I felt, which is a big trigger for me personally.
And just kind of moving through the summer to now, how did life change and hopefully improve?
It definitely got better when I got back on campus because I had more of an interaction with people socially. However, I did go from 0% work to 200% work mode. So I did kind of feature a little bit of burnout when I started working myself too hard.
And now that we've kind of adjusted to living during the pandemic, do you feel like things have mostly returned to normal, or you think we still got a little bit to go?
I feel like we still have a little bit to go. I don't think normal is a construct that really ever exists. I think we're in a new stage where we're doing relatively better with everything that's going on. But I feel like we're going to have a way to go until we have a plan of action that people are willing to abide by.
And how's the pandemic changed how you use technology?
It hasn't changed much for me, besides like I now play games online via voice chat with my friends, but technology is like a big integrated part of my job, so I used it a lot anyway.
And how do you feel about the guidance the state and federal governments have implemented down? I know there's been some conflicting rules there.
Let's just say, as far as federal goes, not the biggest fan. In fact, a strong hatred. As far as how like statewide it's going, I feel like it's going relatively well. But even in the state government, you have conflicting things with the governor saying one thing and then the defense person wanting to sue the governor, and it being this whole thing. So I feel like it's becoming more of a party issue than just a human issue.
Yeah, definitely. I think most people are noticing that now. And what did you think about the rules the university handed out before we all came back this semester when you initially saw them?
I was concerned that they weren't going to follow up on them. So, for example, mainly the dorm ones, because I know people personally who, within the first week, were having people who don't even go here in their dorms. And so things like that, I felt like they did a pretty decent job. I guess my main thing was just how students were going to respond to it.
And do you think the universities provided us with enough information on COVID-19?
No, because they weren't originally going to post their test results for the students that got tested on campus. And the only reason they did that, hypothetically, and what I assume, is because there were those stories and there were those issues where they were saying one number but the health department was saying another number. And so I feel like they're not giving us adequate information or frequent enough information. For example, if they are getting daily updates, we should be getting daily updates. And there's this weird, thing they have to abide by with FERPA and HIPAA and all of that stuff. And so I know it's a weird way to navigate it, but general statistics and numbers I feel like should be made readily available to us, and they should have been from day one.
And do you feel the university's being transparent enough with the information they've made available? Like for instance, the case numbers on Healthy at Morehead State?
No, because from the way I've looked at the numbers, I think there's the numbers for students who live off campus but don't live in Morehead or decide to go back home after testing positive, I don't think those numbers are counting in the numbers that Morehead State is putting out there. So I think there's a conflict in numbers from Morehead State and what the judge executive is getting, but I haven't looked at that recently, so that could have changed.
And earlier this month, the president tested positive for COVID. What was your initial reaction to that? Because I know from what it looked like online, a lot of people it was kind of an, oh, what now moment.
You're talking about President of the United States, right?
Yes.
Okay, for a second I thought you were talking about Morgan, and
No.
I was like...
President Morgan has not contracted COVID, to my knowledge.
No, I don't. Okay. So, he is a person just like we are people. I don't feel like, had he been abiding by guidelines, there should have been as much outrage as there was. But since he wasn't, I understand the outrage and the reaction. Because even if he was abiding by guidelines, like everyday people, he would still have a chance of getting it. So I feel like it has less to do with who he is as a person, like his role, like being president. And I feel like it more has to do with his handling and his seriousness with the issue.
Makes sense to me. And how has COVID affected you, just as a person or at work?
Well, both my mom and brother have had it. And that was pretty stressful. They didn't end up having to go to the hospital, but like my mom sounded atrocious. And so that's impacted me a little bit. But then also being here and being in this leadership position, I have to make sure that we're not getting sick in here. And so that's been another added stress on me. And then just on the personal issue, like I said, when we were isolating and not going out and having to stay in our houses, I sort of went into like a major depressive episode because isolation is a big, negative trigger for me. And it sort of became this really big thing where like I would never be suicidal but be where I could take that next step. And so that's sort of the biggest way that it's impacted me.
And how has COVID affected the Trailblazer at all?
Mainly, we just have to sort of social distance. We're not able to have people hang out in here as much, like us, our staffers, which sort of can decrease the feeling of community. We also have someone in here who's more high risk, so we have to be careful with that and just make sure that we're cleaning everything thoroughly and doing all of that. Mainly, it's just affected how we're doing our stories. We're able to get less photos because people don't want to meet us in person, which is totally understandable because you want to limit your person contact. So mainly, it's just doing more interviews over the phone or via email, that sort of thing.
And is there anything else you'd like to talk about or add?
Nope, I'm all good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.